Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Good, happy Monday. I hope everyone had a less stressful Monday than I have had. So now we're here. When they cry. We did the tea party last time. That was interesting. I actually want to do a couple things, I guess. Okay, first I want to do question mark. Because it says, welcome to the tea party of those who are not human. I'm guessing it's more meta narrative and all that. I also want to talk a little bit about where I think episode 2 and beyond might go, based on what I've experienced. I guess I'm going to say that now, actually. So, episode 1 happened. Everybody dies. Allegedly, everybody dies. We'll talk about that in a second. But then there's the tea party, and the tea party kind of serves as like a meta discussion among the characters about the events that happened in the game. It looks like there will be tea parties for every episode, and will kind of hint or tie up or point at, I guess, routes and things that will be seen. I might be still mad about Beatrice. That will forever be her name. But what I think what the tea party was trying to say about episode 2 is I think we're gonna get the same story, but told from another character's perspective. Like, I thought Rudolph would be one to get from his perspective and actually see what happened in episode 2 or what happened on Rokujima from his perspective. I think that might be where the other episodes take us, because I feel like it's not going to be, unless the Ushiramiyas can get like sentience from their like post-departed versions of themselves, you know, like VN style. Like, you know, if Battler like gets like a eureka moment during the plot, he's like, I know Ava's gonna die, and then like that changes the course of events. That's probably where episode 2 is gonna go. It's either gonna be another character's perspective of the same events, and having 8 episodes actually makes a lot of sense, because you can get all 4 kids' perspective and then all 4 grandkids' perspective. And then, who's sipping the broth of the apocalypse? Oh, yeah. I just had a couple chocolate-covered espresso beans. Hi, Ryder. Hope you enjoy your stay as What Is Going On Club. Yeah, so I'm just talking about what the future episodes could possibly be, like, because if we're to believe everything at face value, Beatrice kept everyone alive in Purgatorio. Beatrice kept everyone alive in Purgatorio. And they're like looking back on how they died, and so they either we're gonna get that story told again from another character's perspective, and the next visit to Purgatorio is going to provide more insight, or we're gonna be told the same story, and in a moment of visual novel, you know, tropery, one of the characters is going to get a flashback of the other timeline and go and change the timeline. That's very possible that happens too. Also, what's possible now talking about what happened during episode 1 and the events of it, it seemed like everybody died. And it was funny because they made a point to mention that the only person that they could identify through dental records was Maria. And I think that is a trick. I think that's a trick, because I think Maria did it. I think Maria is the one who killed everybody from the start. I think Maria is the murderer, unless we're to believe that there's actually a 19th person. If it's one of the 18, I think it's Maria. It's the only one that makes sense by the end of the story, and I wouldn't be surprised insofar as to think that she actually removed her own jaw to leave it behind and escape, to make it seem like she got mutilated, and then use the dental records to prove that that was her jaw, and then escape. So let's see. Let's see where question mark takes us. I'm sure this will be nonsense. Okay, it sounds like I missed a lot of batshit VN stuff. Did you not see the 11-hour stream? Because that's all there was. Oh yeah, if you didn't see the last stream, I did an 11-hour session. Oh, Jesus. What sort of black tea shall I prepare next? Allow me to display every refined tea that ever was and ever shall be. It must really be peak. It was really good. VODs are on YouTube if you do want to watch. Who is this? Toy Jack. Oh, it's Beatrice. Dried plum black tea. The kind that goes for 200 yen a pack. $2 a pack? That's not bad. That's actually really bad for tea. Never mind. For 1,000 years I've been fond of black tea, but I did not know of such a thing. I will never tire of living in this world. Who's this blue girl? Oh. Why did I pause the game? What? Huh? Huh? Wait a moment. Beatrice, the golden witch who has lived for 1,000 years. She has surpassed the limits of humans, and like demons, will sometimes appear in response to the summons made by humans to offer power in exchange for a price. She likes black tea and ice cream. She hates boredom and people who deny her existence. Kill her. What a use. Did you start question mark yet? I literally just started it. And then I paused to see who this blue girl was, and I was presented with the execute menu. What a useless dream to try to kill me despite being a mere human. Fire your bullets, and they will merely reflect back towards you like the light off a mirror. However, there does exist just one way to kill me. You hold that method in the palm of your hand, though I doubt one as mediocre as you could ever pull it. Is it my mouse? Is my mouse the way to kill you? Oh my god, I jump scared myself by closing the pause menu. Interessante. Beato, you don't have to display such hostility. I am just a wandering witch. I didn't come with the intention of violating the rules of your territory. Huh. Hostility? I bear nothing of the sort. I am just terribly concerned with seeing to it that the legendary witch, Lady Berncastel, is well attended to. Oh! It's Masoma! Og. The guy from Uni Top 8s? Yeah. The Witch of the Fragments, who has lived 1,000 years. It is said she lives in a world where the concepts of fate and possibilities can be visualized. She observes the fate of humans and sometimes interferes. In other words, sometimes she is you, and sometimes she is your only friend. Do you understand, Chris Who, with the breakdown? Now, why doesn't this biography doesn't say anything about her Kuon prowess, right? She likes wine and spicy foods. She hates boredom and people who never learn. Kill her. Oh my god, she's looking. By constantly continuing to think, I will live forever. In other words, if I were to stop thinking, I could die at any time. I think, therefore I am. However, once I start thinking again, I can also revive at any time. That's why I'm fickle and whimsical. I live as I please, die as I please, and revive as I please. In other words, sometimes she is you, and sometimes she is your only friend. You understand? What the frick is going on? You misunderstand. I am powerless. Before a witch such as you, who possesses the dreadful power to kill an individual 100 times, I am completely powerless. That a powerless lady witch like you possesses a power that none can approach is what is truly terrifying. After all, that great witch lady, Lambda Delta, not the frat from Revenge of the Nerds. Lambda Delta was dethroned by you alone. I only won an endurance contest. She simply got tired. That is not what Lady Lambda Delta said, though. Ha! Too much humility can be unseemly, Lady Berncastel. Yo. She's porting around. She's doing the Quan teleports. That girl has a dreadful power. The power to kill an individual without fail. However, without fail doesn't exist in this world. No matter how many times you divide 1, you can never reach 0. Or you should ask that one actor guy. He invented a new math where I think you can do that. That girl has the power to bring the odds of failure down to almost exactly 0. The power to give rise to almost perfect certainty. I hope I never have to fight such a terrifying witch again. That's a pretty cool power. However, you have the power to cause success without fail, as long as the odds are not 0. Though you say without fail doesn't exist in this world, you possess an infallible power yourself. How very terrifying. The power to kill an individual endlessly. I think you're the more terrifying one. You jest. From your point of view, mine is but a trifling power. This is most certainly what one would call empty praise. Call it flattery to make up for the cost of staying here. I am a fleeing traveler who crosses the fragments, continually running from boredom. I simply came across because I heard you started something interesting. Have no doubts that I will choose to leave as soon as you are no longer interesting. I, Beatrice, am deeply and humbly delighted to have you, the great Lady Berncastel, as an observer. And so, what are your impressions? Lambda Delta is terrifying because of her cruelty, but she is a girl I can understand. You do seem to be capable of affection, but I can't understand you at all. That makes you much more terrifying than her. I am fickle by nature. Do forgive me. Besides, I believe you also enjoy entrusting your fate to the roll of fickle dice, right, Berncastel? When I roll the dice, I have a roll I clearly want to get. Unlike you. You, on the other hand, never let the dice fall from your hand. So, whatever the dice roll might have been, you're never disappointed. Whatever roll the dice show you, you're satisfied. Without fail. In that sense, you far surpass me. They're talking some, this is some, succession business discussion type stuff. You're one I really don't want to fight with. Inside of you, there is nothing but 0. That's why I can't win against you with my power. It's the worst compatibility. Perhaps Lambda Delta, on the other hand, has a good compatibility against you, since she would be able to kill your endless nature. It's very meta. Oh yes, witches truly are the best people to enjoy black tea with. One does not get bored. Then I'm relieved. Boredom is the only poison that can kill me. So don't kill me, okay? Lady Beatrice, endless witch. If such is your wish, I, Beatrice, shall show you an even better time. In that case, wouldn't it be best if I brought the next chessboard in right away? It seems the next tale would do more for you than another cup of black tea. Is that episode 2? Just wait for a moment. Something troublesome seems to have taken a liking to you. I'd really like to lend you my power, but as you just heard, that girl's power and mine have a very bad compatibility. Unfortunate as that may be, but you really are pitiful, so I'll help you out here just a bit. First of all, about that girl. She does have the name Beatrice, but that doesn't necessarily mean she is one individual woman. You get what I'm saying? In other words, she's not some human. Her existence is a personification of the rules of this world. To beat her, you have to expose the rules of this world and unravel her. Oh, this is just like Gossip Girl? The Go Piss Girl? Perhaps this can be likened to learning the rules of chess by watching a game. First, take a good look at the chessboard. Then, learn the movements and roles of the pieces. Then, look for the conditions required to win another game. When you've managed to reveal all these things, her heart will be exposed. After that, you can rip it apart or crush it as you please. I am being quite generous. In the past, when I had a human body, it took me 100 years to notice even this much. This is my message. This is my meager farewell gift to you, the pitiful one captured by Bieto. It's just like a spoon. A spoon can be used for more than just drinking soup. You can use it to dig through the prison you're locked in, or as a weapon to gouge the witch's eyes out. Of course, you can also use the spoon to continuously sip the watery soup inside your internal cell. Don't get the wrong idea. I have no intention of becoming your ally. I do feel empathy for you, but I won't help you. It's like I'm sitting in front of the television yelling at you on the other side, even though my voice won't reach you. So you understand that I am a witch, right? That's a curious one. I intend to enjoy the endless tale that Bieto is going to weave until I tire of it, but that alone will not hold my interest. That's why I'll lend you my power. It's all so that I don't get tired of this. I am the cruelest witch in the world. Whoever my opponent may be, I'll make them surrender with certainty, even if it's Beatrice, the endless witch, okay? You are my game piece. Give it your best shot. I'll give you advice sometimes, out of her sight. Don't bore me, okay? Very interesting. Very interesting. Addition of a new game board. The next episode's lock has been removed. Addition of new features. You can find these new features on the title screen. Different background. Hips. Ah, okay. Okay, a lot to think about here. Lot to think about. So, initial impressions. Oh, we should do this too. Got to do this. Episode 1 tier list. This is going to be pretty tough. It's going to be pretty tough. But I'm going to do it quickly. So, we have... I got to put Vern Castell in question mark tier. Right? She seems pretty cool. Definitely is going to help us in the futures, lending us her power, which answers my earlier question of, like, how do we actually go change the past or change the story? We all kind of live in, it looks like Beatrice's world, but to Berncastell's point, Beatrice is not a single person. Beatrice is like a system. And I think part of that has to do with like, it's partly Maria, maybe partly the servants, maybe partly the islands. You got to do the Coney tier list. What's Coney tier list? Should I just Google that? Incomprehensible tier name, 1 to 2 placement per tier. Oh, okay, we can do that. More tiers. We need more tiers. I wish I could match that kind of energy. So we'll definitely just call this one main, because these are the characters that I would main in the fighting game. And that's definitely going to be Ava. Definitely going to be Battler. We're going to go with that, right? And then, of course, we would have to follow that with a new tier. The furniture tier list. Which is actually, what we'll call this one the fancy furniture tier list. Why did it do that? Hold on. Okay, this is the fancy furniture, which is the furniture that I fancy, of course. And that would be Shannon. Why did it orient like that? I have no idea. Canon a little less so. I think I kind of, you know, fuck with this furniture. She's pretty funny. You know, she got the mackerel jokes and stuff like that. We've got... Who the hell is this? Wait, are these all characters that I know? They're using the other sprites, which is, of course, not... and then here we would have, probably call it, like, trashy furniture. Right, and that's easily going to be Goda. Probably Genshi. Those are all characters you know. I thought so. Yeah. Because I said specifically in episode 1 tier list. We should probably have a tier for characters. So this is going to be our Okage business tier list. Which is, of course, going to include Kraus. I think I would also... Thank you for the lurk, Dragdoon. I think I would also warrant to put Rudolph in this tier list. And George is pretty Okage business as well, if I do say so myself. Hey, Mike, how's it going? We're going to go with lore accurate here, right? And that's Kinzo. And probably Maria. And certainly Canon has to be lore accurate, right? George is like Nurge business? No. He's Okage business. Oh, this guy's Okage business too. He's doing pretty Okage with his business. Let's add a tier that's gonna be called I guess I'll call these the Pog Champs. Hello, Rin. Haven't caught up on the last VOD, so I might have to lurk. Yeah, no worries. We're starting episode 2 in a moment. You cap? I'm not a cat boy. I'm a fox, but close enough. The Pog Champs. So here are your, as you may remember, Twitch ran a chess tournament called Pog Champs, which had a lot of chess in it, right? And so we're of course gonna put Kyrie here because she turns the chessboard around. Nanjo's pretty good at chess. Beatrice is running a chess game of her own, right? So, yep. And so then I think we're gonna then go with one more tier list, and this one is just going to be my head, right? Because that's going to be where we put Natsuhi and Rosa for various reasons. Natsuhi, of course, with the splitting headaches, and Rosa, you know, hits her child in the head. So they both go into the my head tier list. And then we got Jessica, who's left over. Jessica. You know what? I would main Jessica in the fighting game. And honestly, these are probably 3 of my favorite characters anyways. So this kind of works out, right? Like, can I just post this to... Can I just post this to Twitter? Do I have to say warning Umineko spoilers if I post this to Twitter? And also, did I Coney it enough? I think I did a pretty okay job with that. Did I spot the imposters? That's a good question. This is excellent. Thank you. All right, sweet. But my head tier is really something. It's on Twitter without a word. Say less. You should say DBFC final season tier list. Posted. Take this away from y'all. Save this because we need this. Fearless Umineko episode 1. Now the real question is, who wins this matchup? I think Beatrice is currently winning the matchup, if I had to guess. Take a look back at your recent stay. We hope this will help you better recall the events of the past 2 days. Of course. This is so stupid. I'm looking at it again. I'm Susan. I will check your DM. Is this SP2? Oh my god. Y'all, they printed my boy with a CSR. We're so back. We're so back. This looks so good. Okay, well, I'm gonna need some SP2. Like a lot of it. Rin, thank you for the follow. Hold on, I gotta go. Oh, I think everybody's pinging me in every GA. Oh, Carter. I called the Carter. Thank you for stream. Of course, of course. Sorry, I've got like 100 things going on right now. Oh my god, it looks so good. Need that. Merlin Marketplace already gonna freak out over it. Okay, who? Oh, Rococo? Rococo CSR is pretty cool. He do be strem. Yeah. Let's see. Are they're just showing... Oh, they're showing everything in it. Oh, no. They're not showing everything in it. Cremation Ritual's a super in there. Jeez. Xander, Carter, Freydis, and Rococo. Damn. Well, I'll have to get that Xander. SP... The first time it'll be available is at July 4th at Anime Expo. Okay, well, hopefully we know people going to Anime Expo. But it will also be at other places. I'll get my hands on one. Now I got FOMO. I got FOMO of that. Okay. Episode 2. Umineko episode 2. Wait, why was it... Wait. I clicked it too fast. Ask Mike about Anime Expo hooks-ups. He's the guy? Oh, okay. Might have to do that. Yeah, that's why I said, what the frick is this? Hold on, we gotta get out of here. Yeah, the CSR's mighty nice. Why doesn't episode 2 highlight? Turn of the Golden Witch. Good morning. The Golden Witch eagerly awaits your arrival. Please do grant her that wish. Were you able to get a good rest and perfect your strategy? The witch expects a lot from you, and is more than ready to launch an assault right from the start. I also look forward to seeing your strategy. The difficulty level is extreme. The witch intends to make you surrender all at once. Hold on, I just want to see if Merlin Marketplace is already posting about buying the Xander. I'll skip my hands on it.
There are now 3 pieces of media I have engaged with that have "cry" in the name.
There are now 3 pieces of media. Hey, Lid, thank you for the resub. 29 big months of support. 3 pieces. So, of course, Devil May Cry. And then there's Umineko When They Cry. And there's Princes When Doves Cry. Okay. Girls band Cry. Ah, yes. Nah, not a Hoda. Okay. Let us go to episode 2. When They Cry. I just saw the bottom of the screen. Oh, yeah. Cry Me a River by Justin Timberlake. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. George, please look. They're so cute. Look. Hold on. Can we execute them? No, damn. Whoa. Player. Those jeans looking a little tight, George. I like it. Yeah, the deep V. Holy crap. Oh my days. Hold on. He's looking kind of trippy, yeah. I love that you're playing with the OG sprites. Yeah, I'm paying respect to the OG sprites, but I do like to look at these and at least get an idea. An affable young man liked by everybody in the family. He's currently studying as an assistant for his father's company, and it seems his dreams of making it his own one day. As the oldest of 4 cousins, he acts as a leader and an arbiter. That is the same. Shannon. The dog tags. Got that dog in him. Young but experienced servant. She's normally calm, performs her job efficiently, but she messes up when she gets nervous. Furthermore, she is nothing more than a pseudonym that she uses on duty, not her real name. George, look how cute. Shannon found a pair of hammerhead sharks swimming playfully in the tank and looked as excited as the grade schooler seeing an aquarium for the first time. Yeah, they really are cute. Almost makes me want to eat them. I'd feel so sorry for them. Did you know? I hear the Japanese are the only people in the world who go to aquariums and say how delicious everything looks. I know, I do that too. Is that so? I'm sure even Americans and Italians would want to eat these. Yeah, that's me. That's Italian mentioned. I do that at zoos. These clothes look good on you. Really? Shannon clutched at her chest with both hands in embarrassment. She apparently felt like she was being made fun of for wearing these clothes she wasn't used to. Though George's face didn't show it, he'd actually said something so completely unexpected that it surprised even him, and he was embarrassed as Shannon on the inside. Hello, I love your model's outfit. Oh, thank you. Yeah, all credit to the artist, all credit to Cha-Cha. However, when he saw how embarrassed Shannon was, he started to imagine he was teasing a girl that he liked. And instead of embarrassment, a ticklish amusement welled up in him. No, he was just imagining it. He really was teasing the girl he liked. Before now, he wouldn't have expected to hear a line like that anywhere these days, not even in a manga or something. In fact, he'd seen another couple acting like this. His first instinct would be to start throwing rocks at them. Ew. Romance. But even if someone were to start throwing rocks at us now, I'm sure they'd be no different than confetti celebrating our relationship. They'd be no different than confetti celebrating our relationship. Now I can't even remember those lonely days. When I felt jealous of couples who were completely oblivious to their surroundings. To use an old-fashioned phrase, these really are rose-colored days I'm living in. I'm so entranced that I barely notice the massive tank in the world's largest aquarium anymore. Instead, all I see are the expressions flitting across Shannon's face as she plays with the fish. It's amazing, isn't it? It's my first time seeing a tank large enough for a whale to swim in. I heard this tank is the biggest selling point here, and that it's the biggest in the whole world. Is that so? That's amazing. It's really wonderful. It doesn't even look like a tank at all. More like they sliced off part of the sea with a knife and brought it here. You're right. This really is a little sea. When I go on the first date with someone, I'm going to hire a few people to throw rocks at us. That's pretty romantic. Despite its size, I hadn't thought of the tank as anything more than a tank. That's why I found her metaphor so interesting. No matter how far humans broaden their experiences, they always end up viewing the world through the lens of their own values. Maybe that's why it's so interesting to interact with people who have different worldviews. I voiced my thoughts on this. He responded. True. This may not be the real sea, but if those little guys swimming in there believe it's the sea, then that's what it is. Wow. How meta, Shannon. Are you commenting on the fact that you, being a VN character, knowing nothing else besides being in a VN, makes it real? Even though they're inside a finite tank? The sea is finite too. Then again, even if the sea were infinite... Holy smokes, 100? How much could we cover in our whole lives? I'm sure it'd be only a minuscule fraction of the sea. You're right. It's ironic, isn't it? Even though the world is so vast, most of us humans live our lives without ever leaving our own country. It's not ironic. If the inhabitants of a place believe they're living in a complete world, then even the bottom of the narrow well can be a wonderful world. An entire ocean. At least to the frogs that live in there. YouTube frogs living at the bottom of the well. Shannon, who spent her day as a servant on a small island 10 kilometers in circumference called Rokenjima, said... Oh! Wait a minute. This is going to be a story where Beatrice owns the island, not the Ushiromiya family. The Ushiromiya family is just going to be like an ordinary-ass family in this. Alright, cast the characters coming through. Yeah, this is going to be a different chessboard, according to Beatrice. So this is going to be like... Because George didn't say our island. George said an island called Rokenjima off the coast is where my girlfriend Shannon works. I didn't catch any names that I didn't recognize, but I wasn't looking too closely. Beatrice! In this one, I guess they're not going to be goober wealthy. Or maybe they will. Jam. Oh, hell yeah. The function? The buffet at the function? After we finished walking through the whole aquarium, we had a small late afternoon lunch at a restaurant with a nice view. The word buffet has the power to make any boy's heart leap. So true. It was like, I was like that myself once. But with Shannon besides me, this buffet felt different. I couldn't shamefully pile on the things I liked. I was, how should I put it, worried about my appearance and chose a menu suited for a snob. Toast, salad, and coffee. If I'd been by myself, I would have made a pile of oily stuff like yakisoba, mashed potatoes, gratin, and so on. Shannon, is that going to be enough for you? If it is, then I guess we men are animals with really bad fuel efficiency. No, that's not what I... On Shannon's tray, there was only tea and salad. Maybe the mere fact that I thought she was a whole plate short proved that I was thinking with a man's stomach. Actually, I should be asking you the same thing. Don't you think men should eat a little bit more than that? I imagine you normally eat much more of lunch, right? Ah, yeah. Dang. Come to think of it, you already know how much I eat normally because of the meals I've had at the head family household. Oh! Wait. That's right. So I was worried you might have an upset stomach today. Shannon was kind enough to guess that I wasn't feeling well. Looks like my stupid attempt to show off made her worry. And apparently my stomach wasn't going to let me show off any longer. Yeah. Okay, I'll confess. I was just trying to look cool. I held back just because I was with a girl. I thought as much. Considering how much you eat during lunch at the family conferences, I thought this wasn't nearly enough. Okay, so there is still the family conference. Please, don't be so reserved, and feel free to choose another dish. Oh, it's not fair for only me to be embarrassed. What about you, Shannon? How will you be able to keep up with the Ushiromiya family workload on such a sparse diet? Shannon fell silent and blushed bright red. Apparently, I wasn't the only one showing off. When I realized that, my embarrassment disappeared completely. Oh, so that's not enough for you either, is it? Yeah, you usually eat a bit more than this for lunch. A woman's stomach is made of magic, so this is enough. Ugh. So we've both been showing off to each other. Let's not hold back any more then, shall we? I smiled to show that I wouldn't make fun of her anymore and rose from my seat. After finally coming to Okinawa, it'd be a waste if we didn't eat some bitter melon. I'll go get some fried bitter melon or something. Ooh, fried bitter melon? Shannon, come with me. Come on. Yeah. To anyone watching us, we might seem like an incredibly charming and embarrassing couple. But it's only after becoming a couple that you realize, to us, this exchange of words is everything, our entire world. That's why no matter how much everyone else stares at us with blank expressions, we never notice. Indeed, at this age, I finally understand the feelings of couples who want to endlessly flirt without any regard for their surroundings. After I returned with a plate piled up with fried food, Shannon arrived with a pretty cake. We laughed at our fake stoicism and resumed our lunch. Even though it's a restaurant with a view of the sea, it's so cloudy. Luckily, our window seats gave us a view of the seaside scenery so grandiose that it extended even beyond the field of vision. However, because of the cloudy sky, we were only seeing a fraction of its usual beauty. That's right. If it were clear, we'd undoubtedly see a deep blue sea. Yeah. I'll bet you're already used to the sea around Rokkenjima, but the deep blue of the sea here would surely have been a sight to see. It's a real shame. Oh, but no matter how blue the sea is at work, it might as well be gray to me. But I'm not working today, so, apparently Shannon was doing her best to say an embarrassing line, but I didn't let her get off that easily. So close. If only you said, when watching the sea alone with you, George-sama, it looks deep blue no matter how gray it is. I'd have given you full marks and a prize. Sorry. Want to hear what the prize was? Sure, if you don't mind telling me. Nope, I won't tell you. Ha 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 ha. Got her ass.
ずるいですよ。
Well, that's not fair. Is this Riz? Is this Skibbity Riz? When I was in elementary school, I was always the kid who got bullied. When everyone teased me, I grew nervous and speechless to the delight of the bullies. Back then, I wondered why everyone teased me. But now, teasing Shannon like this, I understand why. This is so much fun. I can play with her emotions however I please. George? Yeah, George fan cams. And I can have them all to myself. Right now, I can't think of any greater pleasure. That's why I have to go easy on her. What the Sigma? Not as though I want to make her feel embarrassed and upset, so I decided to be nice and change the subject. Best not to be too obstinate. When you finish your lunch, do you want to take a walk on the beach? Maybe the clouds will clear up and we can get a beautiful view of the sea.
そうですね。
Sure.
行ってみたい。
I want to see it. Yeah, then let's do it. But that cake really does look delicious. Maybe I'll go get one of those too.
いけません。
You mustn't.
そんなに食べ
If you eat cake after eating so much, you'll get fat.
ジョージ様は
It looks like Hideyoshi's blood is pretty thick in you, George. So you'll get chubby if you don't take care. Damn.
じゃあシャノンは
Shannon,
僕がおデブ
you won't stop liking me if I get fat, will you?
僕は
After all, I wouldn't stop liking you if you got fat. Oh my god, what is George wearing? he's got those dog tags.
そういう意味じゃなくて
I didn't mean it that way. If you don't take good care of your body, it'll be bad for your health. Put on the velo.
母さんにもよく注意されるよ
Mother warns me all the time. 2. I wonder if I'll have to take up Tai Chi Quan or something like she does to get some exercise.
ダイエットは無茶な運動よ。
When going on a diet, it's better to start by rethinking your eating habits rather than exercising all the time. Stop lecturing me, game. I don't want to hear this. Let me keep eating my gross garbage.
上で運動を重ねないと
Apparently the exercise only helps if you're eating well first.
つまりそれはデザート
Well,
のケーキ
my diet is I don't eat anything, and when I feel like I'm gonna faint, I have a block of cheese. In other words, you're telling me to hold off on the cake, huh?
じゃあ仕方ないか
Then
ら
I guess I'll just have to gaze at you while you stuff your cheeks with it, Shannon.
その
Minnesota ass diet.
ケーキ丸々
A whole cake is probably too
半
much,
分くらいだった
but maybe just half of one would be okay.
本当に
Here, it's really delicious. Shannon cut down her cake and tried to move half to my dessert plate. I had no doubt she wanted to share the delicious cake's flavor with me. Wait, so is this the same story, but now told from George's perspective? So are they doing that thing where George, this is like right before the family conference, and now it's from George's perspective instead of Battler's perspective? Maybe. However, I mainly pulled my plate away from her. She blinked in surprise. She couldn't seem to figure out if I was refusing the cake or not. So I winked, opened my mouth, and said, "The cake is a lie!" And she knew I was an epic gamer.
それが一番
So that's what you really wanted. Sheesh, you're such a pampered child, George-sama. I like how Rikishi just took a pic from his local restaurant and put it into the game. That's kind of guy-like, actually. Thank you. Thank you for the lurk. Whoa. Wide? I said the cake is a lie, and then she pepper sprayed me. What an excellent buffet. If only we knew how many geeks and gamers there were here. A wide Shannon? We can go wider. That's what you really wanted. Sheesh, you're such a pampered child, George. Okay, say ah. Wait, can we go even wider? What if I shrink my window? No, she stays the same. With partly embarrassment, partly exasperated face, Shannon offered the cake to me with a fork. No. Ha ha ha. No. Ha ha ha. No. Tasted like a cheap chocolate cake you might find anywhere, and yet it was exceptional. Because eating cake in such an embarrassing way, as if we were a couple of perfect fools, had been a dream for many years. It made this cake's flavor heavenly. If the earth is destined to end, I wouldn't have any regrets if it happened right now. It was such a moment of bliss. After that, we gathered shells, ran from waves, and enjoyed each other's company while walking along the beach. In the end, the clouds never parted. However, we both believed that the sea reflected in our eyes was a deep blue. Somehow, I'm so happy that it scares me.
たまに言うね。
You do say that from time to time. What's it you're afraid of?
私
I'm
後ろ宮家に
a servant of the Ushiromiya family.
そんな私が後ろ宮家に連な
For
る
someone like me to be walking around like this with a member of the family,
その
um,
過ぎたことの
it's like it felt like it was too much for me.
僕もびっくりしてるよ。
I'm also surprised.
彼女と出会ったのは
I didn't just meet you yesterday or today, Shannon.
何年も前
We've known each other for years now.
でも
However, we can only meet during these family meetings that only happen a few times a year.
そんな君とこうして一緒に
Back
過ご
then,
せる
I couldn't even imagine having a sort of relationship where I could spend time with you like
そ
this.
れは
It was the same for you too, right?
と
Hmm?
想像だ
I
けしてました
did imagine it. No, I mean, maybe I should call it
妄想
a kind of daydream.
いつも信
I
じ
did think about what it'd be like being in a relationship with you, a boy who was always so gentlemanly and considerate.
その
Though it was only ever a fantastic daydream.
じゃあ
Then, we must have your believing heart to thank for our relationship.
思う力が
Magic dwells in the power of love,
だから
so I'm sure that magic brought us together. You're right.
多分きっ
I really do think it was magic.
でもね
But,
そんな
you
こと
know,
はないんだよ
that's not actually true.
僕の中でも
As you kept looking more and more beautiful every year, you became a larger and larger presence in my mind, too.
そして
The same thing happened to you?
ここに僕
Then the fact that we're here today is simply an inevitable consequence rather than something caused by magic or a miracle. No.
奇跡は
A miracle did happen, George. She stopped walking down the beach, gazing out beyond the sea. A miracle? No.
魔法
It was magic.
あったんで
It happened. I was bewildered by the slightly mysterious phrase which I sometimes heard her use. Magic, you say?
はい
Yeah, magic. I doubt you'd believe me if I explained, so I won't.
でも
But this bit of magic definitely had the power to grant the miracle that brought us
そ
together.
れは何か
Are
の
you talking about some kind of ritual?
そうですね
Yeah,
そういうもの
you might call it something like that.
一つ違う
Except that it really was magic,
おまじないなんか
not just some ritual.
うーん
Maybe it's all girls, not just Shannon, who tend to treat encounters like miracles or coincidences. They don't believe in mathematics. For a man like me, an encounter with a girl is 70% hard work to try and make her like you, 20% courage, 10% coincidence, 50% concentrated power of will. Soma, thank you for the lurk. The part that means everything to her is a much smaller factor in my mind. Maybe the way of thinking itself is calculating and typical of men. But if I said that out loud, it might dissolve all kinds of magic. To my mind, there were lots of coincidences, compromises, and expended effort on both sides before we gained the relationship we have today. At the culmination of all that, we get to spend this joyful time together. If she wants to call that magic, I've got no objections to her choice of words. So I'll stand up for that magic.
そうだね
You're right.
同じ運命を
If the same fate were repeated 100 times,
僕と
maybe you and I could get into a relationship like this only one of those
互
times.
いを意識し合い
In the other instances, even though we'd be aware of each other,
競技な関係
maybe we've only maintained a reserved relationship after all this time. George and Nerge business? More tears?
そんなよその世界の僕らから見れば今の僕
George going into
奇跡のような関係に
George going into cringe business fairly soon. From my perspective of those other me's and you's, you and I are undoubtedly in a miraculous relationship right now.
そういうのじゃなくて
That's not what I mean.
本当に
It really was magic.
男の方に
No matter how often you tell men something like this, they'll never believe it.
君も全
Cannon didn't believe me at all either.
信じるよ
I believe you.
僕が信じな
I'd hate for the magic to fade away because I didn't believe in it.
嫌だ
ジョージ様
George. In a small voice, I apologized for saying something that trivialized her magic. Shannon seemed to be glad to hear me say that. After all, if two people believe in the magic of love, it becomes eternal.
そうそう
Oh, that's right.
僕からわがままが一つあるんだけど聞いてもらえないかな
I was wondering if you'd be willing to agree to a little whim of mine.
はい
Yeah?
何 なんでしょうか。
What is it?
そのジョージ様って呼び方
You call me George-sama, right?
嫌いじゃないけど
It's not that I dislike it, but would you consider not calling me that anymore?
もちろん
Of course, you have to keep up your appearance with the family, so I wouldn't force you to do it during your everyday routine on Rokkenshima.
でも
But when we were alone, I'd rather you didn't call me that.
そういう
Yeah, let's make that a rule.
ルールです。
A rule?
もし破ったら
Well, what would happen if I violated that rule?
そうだ
Maybe we should have some kind of punishment game if you break the rule.
そうだな
Yes, what shall it be? How about death?
聞きたい
Want to hear? No, I don't want to hear.
何がいい
I'll
か
have to think about what it should be.
はい。
Okay,
ジョージ
George-san? Yeah,
素敵な響きだね
I love the way that sounds.
嬉しいよ
I'm so happy, Canon.
私も
I also have another name. It's Sayo.
そっか
I see. The rules gotta be fair after all. I'll follow it too, and from now on, I'll call you Sayo.
いいね
Okay?
さよ
Sayo? Yeah. I held her shoulder and drew her close. When I forcefully pulled her delicate body towards me, she dove into my chest like a doll. And I held her head in my arms, and we both looked at the horizon.
サウナ海だね
What a deep blue sea.
この海を
I'm so happy we got to look at the sea. Just the two of us.
私もです。
Me too.
真っ青な
I'm so glad to have a chance to look at this deep blue sea with you.
ことができて
Isn't there someone you're forgetting to ask? Beatrice over in the corner. Yeah, that fried bitter melon sounded really good. As we gazed at the gray sea and a light rain began to sprinkle down, we kept listening to each other's heartbeats. The sound of wave flows into my ear. No, it's the sound of an enraged sea. My body, bathed in painfully cold splashes, does not allow me to forget. It won't let me forget the memories of the day my old fate was broken and smashed. Once, tomorrows were literally like looking into a mirror. All I ever saw there was a person I already was. Tomorrow was absolutely no different from today. That was my old fate. But then, for the first time, I saw a different fate beyond the mirror. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite of the fruit of knowledge. She torments me, saying I'll be furniture as long as I stay in God's paradise. So I decided to choose the path of knowing love and tried to become a person. These days were like sweet honey, but at the time I didn't realize that they'd be the start of a new kind of suffering. I've arrived at a small island on a motorboat I've only just learned how to use. No, this can hardly be called a small island. It's a little more than a rock jutting out of the water. On this rock is a torii and a small shrine. It was probably built to worship the guardian deity of Rokkenshima. Even though I don't know exactly what it signifies, I know it has to be something holy. Even in a place like this, I've got to take just one more look around to see if there's anyone who might get mad at me for coming. Who is this? I see nothing but the stormy ocean, Nijima looming in the distance, and the waves breaking against Rokkenshima's steep cliffside. Who is this? Is this Bern Castell? I ready myself, timidly approaching the small shrine, and take the mirror that lies there as an offering. The mirror looks old, cold, and dirty. That would probably make any normal mirror seem horribly cheap. However, since the mirror's been placed in this small shrine, its appearance seems to give some sort of divine quality to it. And there's one thing I can tell. This is no simple mirror. It may seem like an old, battered mirror to a non-believer like myself, but this has great significance. Is it really okay to break this after being captivated by honeyed words? No. This isn't really a mirror. This is the life I couldn't escape until today. My fate. I'll break it. I'll smash it and seize the life that lies beyond this mirror. If I don't smash it, my life will be a pair of facing mirrors forever. Me stuck in Urian Aegis setup? Epic win. Nothing will ever change in the slightest. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite of the fruit of knowledge. Or maybe I've already tasted that fruit. After all, I've already experienced those maddening emotions. Just as Adam and Eve felt compelled to pluck their fig leaves, I can no longer go on without breaking this mirror. I've struggled with conflicting emotions for many days before this moment. Inside my heart, the virtuous part of me kept on fighting the part that sides with the witch. Who is this? Now here I am. Did the part of me that's here right now win or lose? There's only one thing I know. To obtain something, you must be ready to lose something. Cowards who don't risk anything, who never try to change anything, will never be given the key that opens the path to a new future. Is this like Battler or something? Like alternate Battler? The key is already in my hands, and that key is to break this, to smash it. Is there any other effort I can make as furniture imprisoned in Rokkenjima? Okay, so is this Genji? Is this canon? No. This is the only way for me. Come, have courage. I'll free myself from being mere furniture, and by accepting a new kind of suffering, I'll become human. How literal is this? This is surely a small yet large trial I must impose on myself. Come on, smash it. I'll smash it to pieces. The eternally, unchanging fate that imprisons me. I raise the mirror high. I think back to the days of conflict that came before. After finishing my reflection in the blink of an eye, I throw it down. The thunder roars, crying out against me for my outrageous act. It truly is the hatred of angels trying to banish me from eternal paradise. I look down at the mirror tumbling at my feet, broken into 2 equal parts. And after making sure I've accomplished my task, I screamed up at the raging skies. I've kept my promise. Now, it's your turn to keep yours, right? Thunder roars once more. I've already been banished from paradise, so I'll have to struggle on my own if I want to live. The witch told me that is the single element of this world. To lose it means losing the world. Like how a canteen with a hole at the bottom can't be filled, no matter how much water you pump into it. Is this Shannon? It kind of has to be if it's one of the servants of the island. I've kept my promise. Now it's your turn to keep yours. Please, grant my wish. Huh? Okay, this game is so good. Hits the banger right after the confusing part. So by the looks of it, I want to pay attention to this intro too. This looks like the same intro as last time though. This shit is so good. Oh, that was something. Beatrice. That's the tea party. Message in a bottle. Welcome to Rokkenjima. Okay, so hear me out. If that person was to be believed to be Shannon, Shannon made a wish with Beatrice even. Shannon made a wish with Beatrice to be with George. She wanted to be with George. And for maybe one reason or another, she actually has seen the alternate timeline where, like, she dies and shit. And, like, she breaks that mirror. And I have a feeling that in episode 1, obviously a different person broke that mirror and made a different wish. And I think when that mirror broke in the first episode, that was when that idol got lightning bolted. Was when that mirror broke in the first episode. Now the question would be, in the first episode, who would be making that wish? Maybe Kraus. Maybe Kraus made his wish in episode 1, trying to find the gold. I'm just trying to think of people who would feasibly be on the island as everybody else was boating to it. And it's really only Kinzo, Natsuhi, Nanjo, Kraus, Jessica, or one of the servants. My mind wandered back to the days when I could barely imagine the happiness I have now. I was a middle schooler at the time, a normal girl who thought about the love as much as you'd expect of someone that age. But in truth, it was wrong of me to have that dream. After all, I am furniture. Yeah, so this is Shannon probably making a wish to be with George. Furniture is nothing more than a tool, not a human. As a person less than human, simply receiving an education was an enormous blessing. So in reality, even thinking about falling in love was more than I deserved. Yushirimiya Family Conference was a customary event held every October, but relatives sometimes visited at other times. Of course, they didn't just come to drink tea. On this day, Ava's family was visiting the head family. The 3 members of Kraus's family and the 3 members of Ava's family had gathered in the parlor, and we were having a friendly chat about recent events. Genji had supposedly told Kinzo of Ava's family's arrival, but he still hadn't come down. He was probably immersed in his research and couldn't spare the time. This often happened, so others waited patiently for their fickle father to arrive. Ah, how promising. Make sure you work hard under your father, building the skills you'll need if you want to lend him a hand soon. Thank you. I've learned countless precious things from the many experienced people fathers introduced me to. And those were all things I could never have learned in school. When you're in school, it's not a math and language you're learning. What they're really teaching you is the right outlook and attitude for learning more. That is 100% true. Once you've got that base, you can finally start a long period of study that'll last your entire life. People who don't get this end up spending their whole lives as fools who never learn. Just getting full marks in math and language won't do you any good at a company. Indeed. That is exactly right. Hideyoshi, your style of education never fails to impress. Hideyoshi's kind of cool. Hideyoshi might be like Fladge business. Hideyoshi stands a liberal art education? Hell yeah. Well-roundedness. George isn't quite a full man yet. He'd better always keep that in mind and embrace his study. Stop it, dear. George is always giving it his all, right? Truly admirable. I wish our Jessica would learn from him. Jeez. Yeah, I'm right here, Mom. Are you still holding a grudge about that test score? I'm studying for tests the best I can. At least, don't say it here. You're pissing me off. Once people started praising George for his diligence, the conversation usually turned to Jessica, who hated studying. Jessica made openly displeased face, as though she'd known this would happen. Yare, yare. My schoolwork aside, it seems Jessica had better learn to choose her words a little more gracefully. How improper of the single daughter who bears the weight of the Yushirimiya family crest. Come now. She's quite appealing in her own way, isn't she? Times change. The time when we had to act all modest to entertain men has ended long ago. Yeah, that's right. I knew you'd understand, Aunt Ava. Ugh. My headache is truly trying today. Are you okay? Aunt Natsuhi, you're looking a bit pale. Thank you. I'm fine. Still, time really has flown. Feels like just yesterday when you would run around half naked by the beach and come back soaked. Oh, wasn't Jessica the same? And now she's a lady who fusses over how to put on makeup. I see you focused on your eyebrows. You look really cute today. Oh, thank you. No one noticed, so I was a bit unsure of myself. Time for her to scream random slurs on COD, huh? The headaches make me say it. A full smile rose to Jessica's face as the result of her own studies were finally appreciated. Makeup tutorial? Based. Ava smiled back in the same way. Then she turned that smile towards Natsuhi. Come on, Natsuhi. You must take notice of small changes in your own child. Poor Jessica. You probably wanted your mother to notice first, didn't you? Oh, it's no problem. That person never notices anything. Jessica, I cannot condone you speaking of your mother in such a fashion. Apologize. Later, I will speak to you at length about your language. Man, can't win. If you don't want kids getting in your way, just say so. I'm gonna take a step outside. It's getting stuffy in here. Jessica? Jessica was still at the age where tests and entrance exams were pretty nerve-wracking. Recently, she'd clashed often with her mother, who was enthusiastic about her education. Excuse me. Jessica, who was trying to leave the parlor in a bad mood, bumped into Shannon, who was pushing a serving cart filled with tea. Oh, Shannon. Oh, don't worry about my tea. I'm just gonna go wander about in the garden. Milady? Shannon. The tea is getting cold. Serve it quickly. Oh, so embarrassing, so embarrassing. My apologies. Shannon hadn't actually done anything wrong, but Natsuhi, who felt like something shameful to herself had been shown, lashed out emotionally. This was something that often happened in the Ushiromiya household. But it seems Shannon wasn't strong-willed enough to just accept it and move on. She shrank back and cowered while serving the tea. She had the unfortunate habit of making more mistakes when she cowered. Her pitiful appearance ruined the peaceful atmosphere that had existed a moment before. It wasn't really Shannon's fault, but she thought she might be the source and felt a pressure on her chest. Her shaking fingers made the utensils clang, and you couldn't have called it graceful. Not even just to be polite. Natsuhi is gonna blow a gasket if that tea is served even a second. Like, for real. If it... There's a... I've talked about this documentary a lot, but, like, it's called Som, and it's about sommeliers, and, like, the way that they get, like, pressured to, like, serve the wine at, like, the perfect temperature as quickly as possible is quite impressive. The more pitiful she appeared, the greater the silence grew. The more irritated Natsuhi looked, the more Shannon cowered. Shannon's thin neck felt like it was being suffocated and choked by the reaper known as stress. At that time, George spoke brightly, blowing away the stiff atmosphere. This smells nice. What kind of tea is it? Oh, it's the plum tea that you can get for $2. Oh, don't say it, I'll guess. It's a very distinctive smell, so I probably know it. Is it Earl Grey? Oh, wow. So, Earl Grey for tea? Groundbreaking. I had Earl Grey today at work, actually. That was the tea I was drinking while I was working today. I think it probably is. Daring today, aren't we? Yeah, I'll bet it's Earl Grey. When you get back to the kitchen, check the tin. Oh. George, you know a lot about black tea, don't you? One of the company's presidents who's looked after me was very knowledgeable about black tea. I managed to pick up a little while listening to him discuss the subject. Yeah. The president of Okonogi Foods. Yep, that sort of trivia is that guy's specialty. The names of black teas often refer to places they're made, right? So did this come from a place with that name? From what I've heard, there was a person called Earl Grey in England long ago, and it was named after him. Wow, brilliant. Couldn't have figured that one out. Furthermore, the distinctive smell doesn't come from tea leaves, but from a fruit called bergamot, which is a relative of the mandarin orange. We love a bergamot. We stand bergamot here. Is that so? I never knew that. Learning things like that makes tea taste all the more delicious when it's not freaking cold. Same thing goes for alcohol and cigarettes? What? Luxury items have a taste of romance. Knowing stuff like this deepens the taste. Oh yeah, you know, taste of cigarettes really gets me going. It's the same as reading the list of benefits on a medicine bottle? Ava. Natsuhi, you should try reading the explanation on your favorite headache medicine. She's so savage. Oh my god. Ava is piercing scathing wit. Just like the low-key like implication that she's like abusing medicine. She's always like this. I know, that's why I love her. That's a wonderful idea. Try it tonight.
え、これは
Try it tonight. これはShe's always like this. I know, that's why I love her. That's a wonderful idea. Try it tonight. Yes, I'll do so.
シャノンちゃん
Shannon, try opening that pot. You should find some dried bergamot mixed in with the tea leaves. I'm off that demonic bergamot.
入っています
Ah, yes, it's in there. Something like dried orange peel. Yeah,
多分これが
that's bergamot.
アールグレイの
The main ingredient in Earl Grey's scent.
匂いは鮮烈
The
だから
scent is vivid, so you might expect the taste to be intense, but it's still gentle and easy to drink. Nazi trapping out the medicine cabinet.
ミルクティーにすると香りもまろやかになって素敵かもしれないね
Wow, why do they call it gray tea when it comes from an orange? What are they, stupid? Why do they call it Earl Grey when you Earl the orange and gray the bergamot? You know what I'm saying? But it's still gentle and easy to drink. If they make it with milk, the scent should become more mild, which works great.
みんなに注いでポットに余
If there's anything left in the pot,
ぜ
if there's...
ひミルクティーにして飲んでみるといいよ
That's what I'm saying. If there's anything left in the pot after you pour it for everyone, you really should try drinking it with milk. Milk is gross.
ありがとう
Anyone agreed? I think milk is kind of gross. Thank you very much. George gave her a small wink. Shannon finally realized that George had kind-heartedly swept aside the tense atmosphere in the room, as he had done it for the sake of Shannon herself, a cowering servant. The Ushirimiya family did not pamper their servants. Milk is a little gross, yeah. As displays of awkwardness would be harshly punished. It was rare for them to be given a helping hand like this. Thanks to George's kindness, Shannon managed to regain control of herself and finish serving tea without further incident. There's the Tetris NES Tetris World Champion is this, like, I don't know, 15-year-old kid who's, like, you know, wicked good at Tetris, because all the Tetris champions are, like, between the ages of, like, 12 and 18, because you need to have no obligations to be good at Tetris, I guess. And his whole shtick is when he sets a new, like, world record or personal best or has, like, a really good run, he, like, gets a liter, like a half gallon of milk, and, like, pours it all over his head. And then, like, sometimes he'll find other dairy products, like Parmesan cheese and ranch dressing and stuff, and pour that on himself. And, like, that's his gimmick. And frankly, it's, like, the grossest thing in the world to me. The one that the British news anchor said needed to touch grass? I don't think it was that one. I think that was one Blue Scooty who... And I thought fighting game players were weird? For real. Get a load of this guy! Yeah, actually, when he won the Classic Tetris World Championship, he brought with him an inflatable, like, kiddie pool. And they set that up on the stage and poured, like, cheese all over him when he won. I got into classic Tetris, like, stuff for two reasons. Yeah, no, I don't lie about this. No, I'm not lying. We could pull it up, actually, if you want. Here, hold on, we'll pull it up. So the reason, actually, here, I'll let you maybe discover this for yourself. H-Box should be taking pop-off notes? Seriously, right? Here we go. This is... Okay. Hold on. Let me pull it up. There's going to be a lot of questions asked here, probably, but I can answer them all. Here, we'll go back a couple seconds. Right, so he wins. Yeah, well, it's kind of almost like a victory lap, but it's really like if you're setting a really good score, you might want to make like an in-tournament record. Okay, so then he gets like so like here, hold on. Also, shoutouts to James Chen. One of the reasons I started watching Classic Tetris is because he frequently commentates it. They brought out a kiddie pool, right? You know, he gets in it, right? Okay. And then they just dump cheese on him. Hot tub streaming? Yeah. And like, I mean, again, like I say milk is gross. Yeah, no, I say milk is gross. Parmesan cheese is way grosser. So yeah, there you have it.
Hey Rysair just stopped by to say hi. I gotta sleep, but I hope you've been doing well.
Diba, thank you for the resub. 5 big months of support. I appreciate it. Just stop by to say hi. Gotta sleep, but I hope you've been doing well. I have been doing well. Like, I hope the same for you as well. We're chilling. We're doing some Umineko. That music kind of hits with the palm pour, right? I'm thinking the same Umineko track on the Parmesan and milk pour. Actually making Alfredo sauce with the Tetris World Champion. Yeah, so there's a summoning salt video on classic Tetris and like setting the record, which of course, you know, I don't know if you know the meme, but it's like, you know, new summoning salt video just dropped. And it's like the music hits and it's like a guy dancing. Always gotta watch Summoning Salt. And then James Chen commentates it, which I've watched it for that reason for like, I don't know, like 6-7 years now. Because James Chen is one of my favorite people in the commentary space. It is impossible to match his passion. As long as she stayed calm, she would carry out her work elegantly and flawlessly. By the time the black tea was laid out on the table and the elegant scent filled the room, the atmosphere had completely returned to its former peaceful mood, and everyone praised George's knowledge. Nobody thought the record could go lower, and then Poopy Butt Face appeared. That's the Jimmy Poopins one. Have you seen the quest to beat Jimmy Poopins? I think it's called. It's about Ninja Gaiden for NES. It's peak. I mean, it's a Summoning Salt video. Dirk Diggler 74 showed up. Vaporwave hits. Like, I love those videos. Gotta make uni equivalent ones. Shannon wanted to thank him for saving her, but it didn't look like she would get the chance. She decided to at least thank him inside her heart, praying to God that George would hear it as she pushed the serving cart away. Yeah, that's a really good one. I love all of his videos. They're really, really good. But all I can ever hear is like that classic vaporwave track, the Simpsons wave one. You know the one. George Nissan always lends a helping hand at times like that, by changing the topic or something. Shannon and Jessica were in the Rose Garden. Jessica still hadn't returned to the parlor after getting into a fight with her mother that was nonchalantly killing time here. Well, I think back on it, I get the feeling this wasn't the first time he's helped me like that. Whenever I made a careless mistake and George was around, I'm pretty sure he'd always naturally smooth things over and restore harmony. Maybe it wasn't something as direct as picking up a fork that had been dropped, but that was his way of caring. What was the fork waitress thing? Is this the game that's obsessed with the fork and the waitress? It is, right? Because I've been hearing that expression a lot recently, and I think it's just because I've been reading Umineko. I think Battler always said something like, yeah, you would pick up a fork when a waitress dropped it. So this is like the Shannon and George perspective. Even servants have their pride. They want to fix their own mistakes by themselves. And if guests lend them a hand, they'll lose face. He's really good at reading between the lines when stuff like that happens. Well, I guess it's kind of like art to him. The whole episode is George-centered. Yeah, seems like it'll be that way. JK, I'd self-delete. Oh, whoa, okay. George hater spotted. That guy's more of a show-off than he looks. Haha. That's not true. I think he's a really wonderful person. Shannon, have you fallen in love with George? For once, Shannon had disagreed with Jessica in a slightly forceful tone, which immediately caught Jessica's attention. No, that's not it, I think. Come to think of it, I've hardly heard any stories about George and love. Hmm? I think I remember hearing him saying that family-oriented girls were his type, didn't I? So is it ogre? Is what ogre? We're on episode 2 of 8. And I think in every episode it goes ogre. Sweet, that fits you perfectly, Shannon. It does? How could? I am not, suitable for such a thing. I'm sorry, what? What? Mate. Not suitable? Like hell you aren't. I love girl talk. Not suitable? Like hell you aren't. You've known him so long, you're practically a childhood friend. They say that when you start from a natural relationship where you don't think of the other as a member of the opposite sex, things start to move pretty fast once you finally start thinking about it. There's no doubt. Jessica loved teen magazines with this kind of stories, and she was always getting excited thinking about that kind of thing with her friends. She was very quick to pick up on love stories like this. This wasn't the first time Shannon had been exposed to this kind of story. But this certainly was the first time she started thinking of George as a member of the opposite sex. I'm laying in bed kicking my legs right now. She was the furniture, while George was an honored guest and a member of the Ushiramiya family. Until now, she'd assumed that even imagining any deeper relationship with him would be impermissible. She hadn't thought on it. Wait, that wasn't it. She hadn't thought of it. No, it was it. Since it was someone else's problem, Jessica poked fun at it, seeming to enjoy herself. It was all Shannon could do to hide her blushing cheeks. If George were to appear at a time like this, she'd have no chance of keeping her cool. They saw George come out from the entrance hall of the mansion. It looked like he'd seen them as well. He headed over, waving his hand. Shannon had to frantically try and regain her ordinary composure before George reached them. Grandfather finally came down. Now they're having an adult discussion, so they chased me out. Ha! Well, escaping them was the right choice. It'd be better to kiss the angel of death than look at grandfather's face. Huh? You shouldn't speak that way, but you know, I think grandfather might think of us as angels of death. After all, we came here to talk about borrowing money for business reasons. That's right, this wasn't the customary annual October family conference. Oops. Ava's family had visited to apply for a business loan from the head family. Kinzo had vast resources, and he lent those out to his children. Of course, they didn't borrow money because they were living in poverty. How would they expand their businesses with the vast sums that they wanted without... How would they expand their businesses with the vast sums they wanted to borrow? How much interest would be attached, and how long would they have to repay it? This wasn't the sort of loan designated for the poor. It was a loan for those who were on the offensive. Kinzo strictly judged whether it would be worth lending out his fortune, and afterwards, he strictly oversaw its use. The Rokonjima would sometimes play host to this spectacle, where relatives visited and described their business to Kinzo. For the parents, these meetings burdened them with the strain of having to move a vast amount of money. But to Jessica, who lived on this isolated island, it was a precious opportunity to meet up with her cousins. So being able to talk with the occasional guests such as George like this immediately cured the bad mood she'd gotten from that fight with her mother. My family's totally stingy too. They probably got money to spare, so why not lend it out graciously? Dad and grandfather will probably get pig-headed and act all important. It's natural to be prudent when lending money. Of course, my father will use what he borrows to expand his business, and he came with a plan that promises a solid probability of repayment. Everything else is left up to the presentation. Shark Tank. But I really wish I could watch from the corner and learn. Mother chased me out. I'm a little let down. It seems the master still tends to scold Kraus and Ava as if they were kids. I'm sure she didn't want to let her son see that. As Shannon hung her head, she thought back on a scene familiar to those who worked in the mansion. Even Kraus, who acted haughtily towards his siblings, was still treated like a child by Kinzo. Shannon herself had often seen Kinzo slap Kraus and tell him to sit up straight. It was probably very embarrassing to be coerced like that at his age. Taking care to avoid being present at times like that was one of the important responsibilities held by the servants working here. However, the fact that Shannon had ended up witnessing such a scene meant that she'd messed up at least once in the past.
そうだろうね。
Yeah, I imagine so. Maybe figuring that out and staying away is part of a child's duty. Yeah, I imagine so. Maybe figuring that out and staying away is part of... Wait, what? I friggin' repeated myself, I'm sorry. That aside, the flowers in the garden are truly splendid this year. George stretched as he said that, as he smoothly changed the subject away from one that was a little gloomy. This time, Shannon noticed it too. This person, George, could sensitively figure out the situation, and always change the subject to something harmonious out of kindness. It was so smooth that Shannon hadn't noticed it until today. Today, Shannon really had to admire the way George did that. Of the boys close to Shannon's age that she'd known, nearly all had been classmates during her period of mandatory education. But they had all been young, and none had possessed the composure George had. Mere moments ago, he'd been just another guest, but right now, she couldn't help but think of him as something more. However, such thoughts were mere distractions from her work as a servant. Shannon tried to chase them away with a small shake of her head. What's up? No, it's nothing. Shall I make some tea? I will prepare some more of the Earl Grey. So you remembered the name of the tea. I'm glad. Thank you for your concern back then. Shannon was finally able to put her gratitude into words. If you wrote it out, it wouldn't have been very long, but Shannon had needed a little spark of courage to say it out loud. But George played dumb. What do you mean? I don't remember doing anything I should be thanked for. He seemed to be playing the gentleman in his own way, letting her know he wasn't doing it out of a desire for gratitude. George's response seemed to be more or less exactly what Jessica had predicted. He couldn't help but burst out laughing. See? Isn't he a bit of a show-off at times like this? No, that's not. Jessica poked fun at Shannon as the latter remained silent, red-faced. George didn't know the details, but he naturally joined in, laughing the same way. The three of them lazily walked around the garden, catching up on recent events. George, as the oldest cousin, talked about his life experiences. Jessica talked about her recent life on Rokkenshima, and Shannon talked about her recent work. They kept going on about these trivial things. Even when Shannon heard the others talk about deeply interesting things, she never felt any particular interest in the actual content of their stories. She was nothing more than a servant, and she had no intention of delving into her master's lives. She simply wanted them to enjoy their time speaking with her, and would only pretend to listen intently and nod at the right moments. But for some reason, the things George talked about today seemed to catch her interest powerfully. Even things she'd normally ignore felt like they contained a trace of kindness beyond the words. For some reason, she wanted to know more things about George, no matter how trivial. So she stared fixatedly at him. She thought that as far as looks went, this Ushiromiya George was probably about average and didn't stick out in any particular way. But he was diligent, serious, and had a deep prudence which allowed him to understand people's hearts and show concern. But she'd never noticed these things before now. She may not have met him many times, but she'd known his face for many years. Even so, she hadn't noticed once until now. Shannon, embarrassed by her own obliviousness, blushed. George, perhaps thinking that Shannon would listen intently to his stories, kept talking happily and at length about things he'd done and seen. Eitsu can't stop taking strays? Oh, the average appearance? Nah, couldn't be Jatsu. So this appears to be happening before. This appears to be happening before that whole aquarium scene. But Jessica didn't miss that slight change in Shannon, so she decided she'd change the conversation to the topic she was sure Shannon was most interested in. Oh yeah, come to think of it. George, have you finally gotten a girlfriend? Wow. Where did that come from? Normally, that reaction should have been an answer enough. But for some reason, as she was now, Shannon wouldn't be able to understand it unless he said it clearly. George is very nice, so I'm sure he's very popular. Oh, quit it, Shannon. Isn't cornering him like that actually pretty mean? I wasn't trying to be mean.
嬉しい勘違いを
Well, I'm flattered that you have that mistaken impression of me.
残念だけ
But
ど
unfortunately, I still haven't had a relationship with any particular girl.
見ての通り
After all, my looks are below average, as you can see.
女の子を
And I can't speak tactfully in a way that can entertain a girl.
話術もないし
そんなことないと思
I
い
think
ま
they
す
really messed up with the new sprites if they're trying to make him look not attractive. I don't know. I think he looks good there. This, of course, is very much not, but none of the old sprites look terribly good.
それに男性の魅力は
And I think a man's charm is decided by something that can't be measured by his appearance. That's why,
ジョージ様は
I think you might be considered a very attractive man, George.
じゃないかと
Shannon was being uncharacteristically verbose. She hardly ever spoke at such length. George seemed fairly pleased to hear someone applaud his charm like this, but he was just a little surprised at the sudden high praise. Jessica, now sure her guess was spot on, appeared to be barely holding back laughter.
ありがとうシャノンちゃん
Oh, thank you, Shannon.
僕に魅力を感
I
じて
I hope I do bump into a girl who's generous enough to feel attracted to me before too long. Yeah, I'm sure you'll find
ジョ
one.
ージ様に
I'm sure there's at least one. No, a lot of girls who will recognize your real
ま
charm.
すよ
He probably wanted to say that there was at least one girl very close to him. Shannon avoided saying that much, drawing a final line as a servant.
そうかな
Really?
さすがに
I guess I'm kind of embarrassed. He had probably never been praised this heavily by a girl before. Clueless? Clearly. Yeah, Shannon's got a bit of a charisma skill there. George's face turned bright red as Shannon's. As she watched the two of them, Jessica giggled sadistically. Well, I'm sure you'll eventually bump into a wonderful partner, George.
今のままじゃ
But I doubt you'll be able to properly escort your partner as you are now, right?
勤勉でいる
Looks like you are diligent, but you've completely abandoned your study of that.
悪かったね
What?
その勉強は
I'll start studying that bit by bit. And how do you plan to do that all by yourself?
恋愛映画でも見
Are you gonna watch romance movies or something?
それとも秀吉
Or are you gonna learn from Uncle Hideyoshi?
チェ
Ugh.
まるで
Well, you're acting pretty triumphant then.
話では
Men are no match for girls when it comes to this sort of thing. Normally, when George and Jessica got together, their parents would say, George is diligent and admirable, and Jessica is lazy and rude. It was probably unbearable fun for Jessica to have their roles reversed. George realizing this as well, so he resigned himself to being the one getting teased for once.
ジョージ兄さんさえいいな
So,
ら
George, as long as you're okay with it,
練習してみ
why not practice a bit with Shannon?
シャノンを一日退屈
The wingman?
デートに連れてくんだよ
It'll be your job to keep Shannon entertained all day long on a date. What do you think? What do you do, milady? When she heard Jessica's audacious plan, Shannon's face turned bright red with a poof, and a donut of smoke started to rise from her head.
それはとても
That's a very tempting plan, but I wouldn't want to burden Shannon.
彼女の貴重
I'd just end up wasting one of her precious days off, wouldn't I?
彼女が本当に
I'd be butting in on that sacred time that she should be spending alone or with someone she really likes.
そんな無粋なことはでき
I couldn't do something so boorish. I also, don't have a person I have feelings for or anything, so, there's no yes, there's no need to hold back for my sake. Shannon's blood had all rushed to her head, and it looked like even though she didn't know what she was babbling about, Jessica, who knew how Shannon normally was, seemed to be finding this hilarious. She couldn't hide her cackling laughter anymore.
そうなのかい
Oh, well, is that true?
シャノンちゃんみ
I can't believe a cute girl like you would be single, Shannon. I'm a servant, so, of course I don't have any relationship with boys.
ってことは
Which means that if Shannon ever wants a chance at getting herself a wonderful guy, she needs practice with relationships too, right?
つまり
So you both want the same thing.
なるほど
Sweet.
こりゃ
That'll be perfect. Jessica irresponsibly cheered the two of them on. By now, even George was hanging his head and turning red.
ジョージ
George, I've been calling you for a while now. Didn't you hear me? When Ava appeared in what was already an embarrassing situation, both of them got even more flustered. Jessica watched and laughed loudly. Mother.
ごめんよ
Sorry, I was so engrossed in our conversation. I didn't notice.
これはエヴァさん
Oh, Ava, you have my deepest apologies.
若い子たち同士で大層盛
It
り
looks like you young kids are getting really fired up together. You are all about that
そう
age.
いう話題が尽き
Oh, I know how kids your age can talk about that sort of thing forever.
嫌ですね
Oh, come on.
おばさんだって
You're still young yourself, Aunt Ava.
秀吉おじさんとの馴れ初めを聞かせてくださいよ。
Please tell us how you and Uncle Hideyoshi met.
あらあ
Oh my, there's no way I could say that.
らほんと
You really are all so young.
それで
So, what is it, Mother? You called because you wanted something, right?
お父さんたちの話
Your father and the rest have finished talking. We're gonna talk to grandfather about you. So, come on.
僕の話
About me?
何の話かな
What could that be?
今みんなでしてたの
The same thing you were talking about just now.
ほら
You know what I mean, right?
ああ
Oh, that.
別に
That really isn't something we need to talk to grandfather about, right?
何の話だよ。
What's going on? Wait, George, are you getting married? Oh, congratulations!
違うよ
No, no.
特定の女性は
Didn't I just say I don't have anyone I'm interested in?
威張ることじゃない
That isn't something to brag about, George. Good grief. Ava smiled bitterly, looking a little exasperated.
わかっ
Oh, I get it.
ジョージに
George, it's one of those
お見合いだ。
omiais, a marriage meeting.
お見合い。
Omiai?
まあ
Yeah, Surely, as a man, George wanted to find a partner by himself and bring her home with him. So it seemed he thought a bit pathetic to meet his partner for the first time in a marriage meeting arranged by his parents.
お見合いというのは
Shouldn't marriage meetings be done in a more mature age?
僕はまだ一人前になったって自覚すらないというのに
I still don't feel like I've become a full-fledged adult.
もちろん
Of course, we have no desire to rush into an immediate engagement or marriage, right?
親睦を
There's nothing wrong with deepening your friendship first, then having her move to our family register after you've gotten older and settled down. Judging by Ava's forceful attitude and George's non-committal one, the others could catch a glimpse of the story behind this marriage meeting. They don't know who George was supposed to be meeting, but it was surely someone who would profit Ava's family in a business sense. The very fact that they'd be satisfied with a mere engagement to deepen the relationship between the two families, rather than an immediate marriage, made it feel almost like a political maneuver.
結婚はね
You see,
好きになって
marriage isn't only something you should enter into after you start liking
か
someone.
らなれ
You marry first, and then you adjust. 80s, baby.
感情だけで
If you marry based purely on emotion, you'll always end up regretting it.
身元のしっかり
There's certainly nothing wrong with choosing a person with a secure background for your partner in life, and then developing your affections later.
間違ったこと
エヴァを
Aunt Ava,
それ
isn't that kind of rude to Uncle Hideyoshi?
私は
Oh, I love that man.
いつまでも
I want to always be with him, and to live my life by his side.
エヴァ様
Oh, Ava.
素晴
Well,
ら
that's
しい。
wonderful.
本当にご立
Truly splendid.
ありがとう
Thank you.
その気持ち
But we built up those feelings while we were husband and wife, you see.
そして今の私
And I believe that, in the future, we will be much, much closer than we are now.
私は
I think that's what's best for a married couple.
だからって
Still,
好きでもない相手
I don't think you can use that to argue that it's okay to marry someone you don't like.
だからって
But it also doesn't mean that it's okay to marry anyone as long as you like them.
結婚は一瞬
It only takes an instant to get
で
married.
も
But your life as a married couple will last long, long after that.
だから一時の
So you should search with prudence and avoid making decisions based on momentary
そ
emotions.
してそれは
Don't you think a matter like this would be better handled by us, rather than by a person lacking in life experience, such as you?
それはそうかもしれ
That
ない
may be true, but
あなたは私の自
I'm proud of you, my only son. You've grown magnificently, and I'm sure you'll do us proud no matter where you go.
バトラ君は
And now that Battler has left the family register, you are father's only male grandchild carrying his blood.
あなたにふさ
We must prudently choose a fitting partner for
慎
you.
重に選ばな
Battler left the register? Did that happen? That happened in episode 1, right? As everyone related to the Ishirimiya family knew, Ava adored George immensely. But that didn't mean she had pampered him. She had been strict with him and had raised him into a wonderful boy who wouldn't betray her expectation. That was why she treasured him
あ
so.
なたの相手は
Your partner certainly won't be selected based on your parents' profit and
あな
loss.
たにふさわしい
I'll bring you a suitable and truly wonderful woman.
今はあな
At
た
this moment, your immaturity might make this seem unpleasant to you. But if you're going to take my advice on anything, listen to me now.
私があなたのため
Have I ever failed to act on your best behalf?
それは
No, you haven't.
今はそれで結構
That's enough for now. Let's go.
お父様は
We're keeping father
急
waiting.
いで屋敷に行きなさい
Hurry to the mansion.
じゃあ
Well, sorry, you two. See you later. George bowed to the two of them. After bowing once more to Shannon, he dashed off to the mansion.
じゃあおばさんも行くわ
Well, I'll be going with him.
楽しい話をうち
Forgive me for interrupting such an entertaining conversation, Jessica. Shannon.
いえいえ
No, please. Don't worry about it.
じゃあシャノ
Come on, Shannon.
私
Let's
たちも
go.
行こうぜ
Yeah,
大丈夫よ
it's okay.
ジェシカちゃん
I'm sure you'll meet someone wonderful too soon, Jessica.
ジェシカちゃん
A
に
wonderful person suitable for you.
素敵な
私と同程度ってことは
So, if he's at the same level as me, you mean a guy with shit grades? Ha ha! That kind of pisses me off, Auntie.
もちろん
Oh, of course, you too, Shannon. I'm sure a wonderful man suitable for you will appear as well. Yeah,
ありがとうございます
thank you. As Ava giggled and smiled, she approached Shannon's ear with a hand over her mouth. She thought she was as though she was trying to tell her a secret.
使用人風情のあなたにぴったりの相手
Oh,
が
she's so bad.
見つかるわ
I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a lowly servant like yourself.
義務教育
Have you forgotten to be grateful for your
身
education?
の程を知りなさい
Know your place.
その
Whoa, Ava. Not cool.
私
That's not what I meant. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Ushiromiya family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Do you really think you could snatch him away? You uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant. Like the Grinch song. Uneducated, incompetent. These malicious words all poured into Shannon's ear without spilling a drop. To Shannon, it was like a cold water was being poured in there. I didn't mean...
そうだって
This was all whispered to Shannon in secret, and with the same smile as before. Jessica, who could only see Ava's expression, didn't think it was anything other than Ava telling Shannon some embarrassing story about love. When their secret conversation ended, Ava patted Shannon's shoulders as though she was urging her on. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for your partner, right?
じゃあねジェシカちゃん
Okay, Jessica. See you later.
はいまた後で
Yeah, see you later.
秀吉おじさ
And
ん
make sure to tell me about you and Uncle Hideyoshi next time.
いや
No way. So embarrassing. Ava laughed loudly and headed back to the entrance hall, beyond Jessica, who was cheerfully waving her hand. Shannon reflected very, very deeply on those words of Ava about knowing her place. It's time for me to take a serious look at how full of myself I've been acting. I forgot. I'm furniture. Furniture isn't human. So I am a being who must feel gratitude even for being treated like a human. And I am not permitted to wish for anything more. People sometimes develop affection for furniture they're used to using, but that's an emotion on the human side, and the furniture has no right to hope for such a thing. It's enough that furniture serves with simple honesty day after day. That feeling I got when talking to George and Jessica is the same as a forbidden drug to me. In other words, it may be an emotion I must never experience.
シャノン
Shannon,
先ほどから僕
you've had your head in the clouds for some time now.
体調でも悪い
Do you not feel well? No, my apologies. Natsuhi's words were right on the mark. Even Shannon couldn't believe that she hadn't noticed Natsuhi until she had called. Normally, it was essential that she focus on her cleaning at this time of the day. That she'd spend all her time sighing and hardly making any
た
progress.
とえお客様がおられ
Even when there aren't any guests around, you must always be alert.
そんな様
Behavior like this is shameful for an Ushiromiya family servant. Yes, ma'am. I will take care from now on.
もうじき当主様と
The head and my husband will return very soon. Have you finished cleaning the study? Have you finished cleaning the staircase?
もし
My apologies. Not yet.
え
Yes, I
え
know.
ですから
I had Lunan.
やらせていただき
Oh,
ました
different servant. So I had Lunan do it.
あなたがもた
While you were plodding around cleaning the hallway, she finished cleaning the study and the staircase.
それは
That's because,
丁寧にお掃除
I wanted to clean it properly, so I
時間
took
が
my
かかっ
time.
てしまって
Shannon was simple and honest, so she would always carry out her tasks seriously and properly, without any omissions. So she was always slow with her work. In contrast, Lunan cleverly avoided doing extra work whenever it was possible, based. So she could complete her jobs as a result that looked almost the same to an outsider, but in a much shorter time. In other words, she was a shrewd employee. Boss makes $1, I make a dime, that's why I poop on company time type beat. Compared to that, it's probably fair to say that Shannon wasn't very shrewd at all, talking back to Natsuhi when Natsuhi was in a bad mood. Of course, there was nothing that Natsuhi could stand more than a servant talking back. Her forehead creased and she spoke sternly. And yet, her slow, admonishing style of speech was even more terrifying, and finally made Shannon realize she had said the wrong line.
ならば
Then perhaps you should aim to do a truly thorough cleaning. Shannon, I order you to clean the reception hall, right now. It's an important hall, where several pictures treasured by the head are displayed, and where honored guests of the Ushiromiya family are welcomed. Clean it thoroughly so that not a speck of dust remains, and so that even you are satisfied. Of course, you will finish before the day is out. Until you finish that and report to me, you will not be permitted any food or rest. Whoa. Yes, madam. Good. Servants should endeavor only to use those words. The next time you talk back, your punishment will be even more severe. So keep that in mind. Engrave those words into your heart. Yes, madam. Thank you for your guidance. You're welcome. Behaving as though her headache was troubling her, Natsu headed off down the corridor. When she couldn't see her anymore, Shannon hung her head and sighed. This was what happened when she had her head in the clouds. Even though I'm bad at everything I do, I should be able to at least carry out the cleaning as well as an average person can, right? Because I can't even perform that well, that I'm crying so pathetically. But what is even more shameful is that not only have I been unable to perform a single bit of cleaning well, but just now, when Natsuhi was scolding me, I imagined that person appearing and rescuing me. If only George were here. Would he casually step in and save me? Surely he'd show up cheerfully, intentionally acting like he didn't know what was going on. Nimbly change the subject and make me forget I'd ever been rebuked by Natsuhi. I kept envisioning him, suddenly appearing from the other side of the door, or the other end of the hallway. I envisioned the kind of person that would be an appropriate partner for him in a marriage meeting, and I envisioned how unfitting I was for him. Ava clearly told me. It's been repeating over and over in my dreams. You're still clumsy as always, Ne-san. Milady has been in a bad mood since this morning. That just now happened because you talked too much, when you should have just hung your head in silence. Kennen was suddenly there. His footsteps were always quieter than a cat's, and he's never left any trace of his presence. He probably could have stood there forever, and she still wouldn't have noticed him. The expression on Cannon's face was one of hatred. He made that expression for Shannon, who didn't know how to do it herself. Madame and Lunan can fall into hell. That person knows where Madame checks and only cleans those areas. Her cleaning just now was like that. I know because I saw. She really wasn't cleaning. She's just the worst kind of parasite, leeching off you through cleaning. Leeching off your thorough cleaning. You mustn't use such dirty words. Dirty words pollute your clean soul, Cannon. So at least don't use those words in front of me, okay? Cannon turned away as though sulking. It was like a reception that hid his true feelings, which was very like Cannon, but I was a little happy. He was getting mad for my sake. Cleaning the reception hall will be tough. I'll help. Thank you. But I was the only one Madam ordered, so don't worry. Don't you also have your own work to do? It's a filthy job. My soul was polluted long ago. Cannon hung his head and bit his lower lip. Just hearing that you say that you'll help is enough for me. If you don't go back to your own job, then you'll be punished as well. And that would make me sad. Shannon knew Cannon's character well. Sometimes he didn't think enough about himself. If I don't refuse forcefully, he'll just help me, even though it means neglecting his own job. Cannon was a little sad that his goodwill had been rejected, but he realized what he was doing would only hurt more in the end and gave a single, small sigh. Understood. Do your best, Ne-san. Yeah. And I'm also partly to blame. You aren't at fault at all, Ne-san. No, I am. So go now. Cannon's face showed that he still hadn't completely accepted it, but without being any more obstinate, he disappeared. Even though Cannon came to give me words of comfort when I was down, even so, I was dejected again because it wasn't him. That in itself was a sin. It went far beyond any dream the likes of me could be permitted to see. I don't know my place. Shannon, who had neglected breakfast, already felt her concentration begin to waver. But if she hadn't finished cleaning the reception hall, she wouldn't receive Natsuhi's permission to eat. That cruel Natsuhi had surely told the kitchen something to that effect. I have to respectfully receive Madame's punishment. That's right. My position in this world is furniture. and I've been intoxicated by a dream that's beyond me. Finished cleaning the hallway and went to the reception hall. Maybe my hunger made my nose more sensitive. I could sense a delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen, even though it was far away, and my empty stomach was encouraged even more. Until I finished up here, I wouldn't get any soup. I just had to resolve myself for doing it. Oh, soup? Spoon? Spoon reference? Several portraits were hung in the reception hall. One of those portraits was thought to hold a special meaning among the servants. It was the portrait of the witch. That wasn't its true name, but everyone in the mansion called it that. The name of the woman with elegant blonde hair, drawn as the subject of the portrait, was Beatrice. He whispered that she might be the former mistress of Kinzo, the family head, and also that she was the great witch who had given Kinzo the gold of legend. The witch, Beatrice, master of the night on Rokenshima, she was gracious to those who respected her, but she would surely curse those who made light of her. It was in Shannon's character not to neglect rules and beliefs such as those. She thought of the portrait of her other master as the person herself, and always treated it carefully, treasuring it. And it had become part of her daily routine to tell the witch, who only existed inside the portrait, the secrets of her heart. She was furniture. Furniture doesn't complain. Cannot complain. So she had no right to speak her mind about her difficult days. She had no right to open her mouth and say those words. So she at least spoke her mind inside her heart. She spoke her mind inside her heart, using words she couldn't say aloud, and protested to the formless witch. Of course, the witch didn't answer. She didn't console, and she didn't laugh it off. Shannon could only interpret that silence as she liked, as though the witch was responding agreeably. Beatrice, please listen to the story of my worthless self. As Shannon wiped the dust from the witch's portrait, she spoke inside her heart. I certainly am incompetent and uncultured, just as Ava said. I am not a person, so maybe I have no right to love. But in that case, why was I given a heart? At that point, Shannon held back her tears for a moment. The sound of the rain, which had started falling along with the chill air in the reception hall, made her feel as though her shabbiness had increased another level. Real furniture doesn't have anything like a heart. So they don't have to love people, right? So they don't feel pain? If I'm just another piece of furniture, why do I have a heart? If it's going to be this painful and this harsh, I wish I was never given a heart.
Naruhodo.
Oh? Naruhodo. So, a heart was given to furniture. It would seem that even that man is capable of some quite amusing things. Even now and then. Monka Ushirumiya, Naruhato L? What? The witch that never answered or laughed. Answered. And laughed. Was it my imagination? Was I hearing things? No. Can't be. After all, the next words became a voice, and I could hear them. Not with my heart, but with my ears. Banger alert. Humans have continually searched for elements that make up the world since before the modern era. It is said in ancient times, the Greeks tried explaining the world with the 4 elements of wind, fire, water, and earth. After that, over several millennia, humans added several elements to those 4, trying to explain the world with several interpretations such as 5 elements, 6 elements, 7 elements, 8 elements, 12 elements. But they were never able to describe one sole truth that exists, the single element. However, a single man appeared by the guidance of a star and finally explained the single element that makes up the world. Know what it is? Is it love? Oh, who? Shannon fearfully turned around. Oh, she's here! Right there. She existed. Not as an illusion, but as a reality. The contrast made by the lightning made it clear that she was no mere daydream. P? It's love. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance that causes humankind's thoughts to stray from the most simple answer. That man explains everything in the world with love. That is the single element. That man fully explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number. How simple and clear. Splendid, exhilarating, pleasant, and thrilling. The year that man was finally born is called the start of the modern era. Shannon, wait, is she talking about Jesus? The man explained everything in the world with love, the single element. The man fully explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number, how simple and clear, splendid, exhilarating. The year that man was finally born is called the start of the modern era. I think she's talking about Jesus. Hi, please stop spamming. I appreciate the effort, but it's a lot of spam. Jenna lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first words should be to ask the person's name. But without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, so she refrained. No, surely it would be the greatest disrespect for someone who lived or worked on this island to ask this woman her name. After all, she was the other master of this island, besides Kinzo. Beatrice! Indeed, I am Beatrice. Even after 1,000 years, I see that people still always give me that look when we first meet. The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations. Shannon realized that she had met with a being that mustn't be met with, and she took a step backwards. Hi, Ayla, I see you putting just a ton of peas in the chat over there. I would like to ask that you don't do that. That's where the wall and the portrait were. So as she gazed at the witch's portrait was touching her back. The source of your trouble is love. Love. The single element that makes up this world. In other words, everything in this world. Am I tripping? I don't see anything in the chat. Ah, the YouTube chat. Bedwards. Talking about the YouTube chat. When it's lacking, then your world is lacking too. It is no different than scooping water into a canteen with a hole in it. Even if you scoop and scoop, that eternal desert of the heart never fills. It is the original sin that humans are founded upon and everything is made of. Understand? When Adam and Eve put the fruit of knowledge to their lips, love is what they learned of. Because of that, humans were chased out of the garden and became fully human, which means that knowing love and suffering is what makes one human. You kind-hearted child. You ought to be praised. Now that you have gained this knowledge, you are no longer furniture. You are now human. I recognize that with all the authority of my name. Is that hard for a common person to understand? Very well then. Forgive me. It's been a long time since I have spoken with a human. Allow me to apologize for my talkativeness. Without waiting for a reply from Shannon, Beatrice laughed pleasantly for a while. Perhaps this isn't much by way of an apology, but I would be willing to grant that wish of yours with my power, if you so desire. Huh? The meaning of those words surprised Shannon even more than the witch's sudden appearance. I'm offering to bring you and the one you love together. Normally, I would demand something of equal value in return. However, I am in a good mood, and you have never failed to pay your respects to me in the past. That is something worth rewarding. Oh, is that true? Normally, Shannon would have been shocked and struck dumb by the seemingly impossible guest. However, almost as though she was already under the witch's spell, Shannon responded. With my magic, it would be no trouble at all to arrange for you to be joined with the one you love. Yes, of course, Shannon almost said without thinking, but held back with her last bit of common sense. After all, this is a witch, a sinister being. The witch Beatrice is clearly trying to slip in through the cracks of my heart and take me prisoner. That sort of temptation, which so many fairy tale picture books warned me about when I was young, is right in front of me now. Yeah, Beatrice, she's here. Fear is also a form of respect. It may be pleasant for me, but we will make no progress this way. I may not differ much from the image of a detestable witch that you hold in your mind. However, I do bestow my favor upon those who respect me. Aren't humans the same? While I doubt any human would bestow a favor upon one with such a hostile attitude. Oh, my apologies. I didn't mean... Shannon eventually realized how rude she was acting towards this guest, and so she finally digested the words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You are no longer furniture. Now you are human. As she reflected upon those words, she felt as though the witch understood all of her worries. What was that, just now? About a reward? I say that I can arrange for you to be joined with the man who has captured your heart. Think of it as a sign of my gratitude for your diligence in polishing my portrait day after day. Calm yourself. I ask for nothing in return. I am generous. However, though I ask for nothing in return, I do have a request. Look, here it comes. Part of Shannon's heart sent her a warning. This is what all those scary picture books she'd read when she was little had warned her about. Do you know of a small torii and shrine that have been constructed on the ocean very near this island? Which you can see when you gaze at the cliffs? Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reached Rokonshima by boat, there was a torii and a shrine in a reef that was too small to be called even an islet. I'm pretty sure Kumasawa-san, told me its history, but I can't remember it well. A traveling shugenja, a kind of holy man, had built it or prayed there or something. Yes, I know about it. But why do you bring it up? I will not explain everything, including the very basics of one ignorant of demons. Simply put, it's causing me trouble. The truth is, there's a mirror kept inside that shrine. I want you to break it. It was quite a suspicious request. Shannon didn't know the details, but anything stored inside a shrine would have to be something sacred. She wants me to break it? Why would a witch ask a human for help instead of doing it herself? There was no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts aloud. Beatrice responded to Shannon's reasonable doubt before Shannon could give an answer. The magical power of that mirror opposes my own. I cannot explain it well with human words. For example, let us speak of the differences between utensils. That mirror is a fork, and my power is soup. You can't drink soup with a fork, correct? If only the resistance of that mirror were gone, I could produce a spoon ideal for drinking soup. Spoons mentioned again. After that, I could drink soup as I pleased, even dig my way out of a rocky prison. I could even gouge someone's eye out with it. Was that not the phrase? Aw, hell no, you tweaking, Beatrice. I don't know what you're talking about. If my poor education is to blame, I apologize. Well, it comes down to this. If you take action and break that annoying mirror for me, I shall grant your wish as a reward. I am in quite a good mood today. You may even change your wish and receive all the gold I bestowed upon Kinzo, if you so desire. I refuse. Huh? When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time that her expectations had been betrayed. If you have a reason, tell me. If there's been some misunderstanding, I shall resolve it. I don't really understand the reason, but up until now, this island has been at peace, and nothing bad has happened. So even if I don't break the mirror, the peace that has existed until today should continue into the future. Yeah, you are quite right. It is just as you say. If you don't break the mirror, the same unbreakable days that have passed until now would continue until tomorrow and the next day. Why don't I give you an absolute guarantee? I shall stake my name, Beatrice, on it. The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day. The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day, and for eternity, into perpetuity. Shannon felt overwhelmed by an eerie illusion. The mirror probably existed for the purpose of restraining the witch. So if Shannon broke it, the person who stood to gain was supposedly the witch herself. And yet Shannon felt somehow that she had to do it for her own sake. It felt like she had some premise that had been switched around. I will do nothing but grant you a chance to bring your feelings to fruition. It's up to you to decide whether you'll break it or not. If you break it, I shall grant your wish. If you don't, the tomorrows that came before today will continue for all eternity. The tomorrows that came before today will continue for all eternity. Interesting. I think she's saying that episode 1's path will continue to happen unless that mirror gets broken. The mirror gets broken, it lets her use her powers, and we get a different path from episode 1. The tomorrows that came before today, meaning the future that was the case before this opportunity arose. Your wish will not be granted for all time. Do you understand? Do you see what I mean? The witch was speaking. She was pressing Shannon, saying she must break the mirror if she ever wanted to be united with George. It was a declaration that Shannon's feelings would never be brought to fruition unless she broke it. Please stop it. I don't want to hear something like that. It was never my goal to cause you pain. Oh well. When love leads to madness, that is when we see the true charm of humanity. Enjoy that emotion to your heart's content. However, if you wish to borrow my power, feel free to break that mirror at any time. And then you may yell my name and awaken me. I will certainly keep my promise. That way you should have no complaints, right? I won't force you to decide right now. Easy, is it not? So this is being told out of order, because we already saw the scene where she broke the mirror and called out Beatrice's name. We also already saw the scene where her and George were together in some kind of maybe real situation, maybe illusion situation. Was it really such an easy thing to do? No, it certainly wasn't. To Shannon, who was burning with infatuation and worried by love, being tempted constantly and eternally with a way out was a cruel trial. I won't set a time limit on that promise, but there is a time limit on the magic that can grant your wish. That limit is not of my making. The one you love will decide it himself. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? No, I don't understand. Well, if he gets married, this magic won't last a while, right? When the one you care for finds the partner to whom he ought to pledge his love, that limit will be reached. Yeah, there you have it. Pay attention, Shannon. I may be a witch, but I am no demon. I may be a witch. I may be a witch, but I'm not a homewrecker, says Beatrice. I possess no magic to tear apart the pair of those two who love each other. The one you love will soon be attending a marriage meeting, yes? You may have stronger feelings for that man than anyone else in the world. However, that doesn't mean you are the most suitable partner for him, does it? I know with whom he will be having his marriage meeting. That girl is the most suitable for him. She came from a good school, achieved good grades, and possessed both composure and thoughtfulness. She is more beautiful than you, wiser than you, more suitable than you. How could an ignorant, incompetent, uncultured girl like you be suitable? You know better than anyone. You are none less suitable. There are none less suitable than you. None suitables. Even imagining that you and Ushimiya George could be joined is sinful and foolish, foolish, foolish. Know your place. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. I mean, you need magic to get him, is what Beatrice is saying here. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Ushimiya family someday in the future. To answer that expectation, he studied tirelessly. Oh yeah, this is Ava. This is Ava's thing. Stop it! Don't bully Shannon. Who the hell are you? Oh, he can see her too. At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Cannon ran in front of her. Cannon didn't care who this woman was. If this was an enemy tormenting Shannon, whom he loved and respected as a sister, nothing else mattered. Ew, fuck, I've been jinxed. Ah. Buys a Coca-Cola for $2.50. Cannon, stay back. This person is... It seemed Cannon also realized that the being standing before him was the witch in the portrait. And also that she was something to be feared. I simply wish to give Shannon a chance to claim her reward, but it seems I said too much and ended up hurting her. I must apologize for that. But I shall leave behind this promise as a reward to you. Oh wait, this song goes hard. If you need my power, call me at any time. I have already told you how. Pat's Coke-sized stomach. Ugh, I don't know what happened to your cola. Well then, let's call it a night. Hostile gazes may be pleasant, but they damage your beauty, yes? Disappear. I don't know who you are, but you're threatening Shannon. Don't ever show yourself again. Cannon's words seemed to deeply annoy the witch. Watch your language, lowborn. I own this house. I may be gracious to those who respect me, but I am brutal to those who do not. While she still smiled, the witch's face began to twist itself. Okay. New fighting game mechanic. At Triplicate, new fighting game mechanic. Character who is more powerful, the less you respect them. So, like, as you, like, DP on Wake Up and do, like, and press on minus frames, she actually becomes more powerful. But if you respect her, she, like, is kinder to you and her moves actually get weaker. That's actually kind of godlike. It's so peak. Character who gets more powerful as you disrespect them. Though I guess that's kind of every character, because if you're playing disrespectfully, they just get to, like, walk all over you. Then an oppressive feeling that couldn't be noticed with any of the five senses gradually filled the room. Or I guess you could do it the other way. You could do some, like, Rumpelstiltskin-ass character that, like, the less you believe them, the less powerful they get. So, like, if you press on their minus frames, they might frame trap you there, but then the next time they do that move, it's less potent because you don't believe in them. You DP against Wake Up against her 3 times in a row, and she could just TOD you the next round. That's actually HNK, Evan. If you Wake Up DP on someone 3 times in a row in HNK, you will get instant killed round 2. The less you believe in them, the worse they are. I think we call those bad characters. Even though they couldn't understand it, they immediately realized there was something terrifying. When you swim in the ocean and something large passes by in the water beneath you, you want to escape to land even before you learn what it is. That's exactly what this was like. Please stop, Beatrice. Cannon is still a child. I apologize for his language. Cannon placed his body between the witch and Shannon. There was tense sweat on his forehead. At that time, the witch certainly held Cannon's fate in the palm of her hand. She didn't even need to lift a finger. She held a grasp on his fate so tight that a single twist of her smile could easily crush it. Cannon understood that as well, so he started sweating. His knees felt weak. However, Beatrice abruptly released that feeling of tension and laughed. Very well. If you ask, I will forgive you just this once. Cannon, is it? In deference to her, excuse me, I shall forgive you tonight and send you off. You ought to thank me. Well then, let us call it a night. Oh god, is Beatrice just one of those, like, is she not real, dude? And is she just like, yeah, you know what? You convinced me. I won't smite you down right now. Haha. Just like every time, like she just talks mad shit, and then she's like, you know what? I actually can't affect the physical world, probably because that mirror exists. So, you know what? I'm just gonna let you go, but I'm gonna make it like I'm doing it on my terms, not like I literally can't do anything. In parting, I shall leave you a small souvenir. Hold out the palm of your left hand, you two. Here you go. It's a little miniature version of me. I want you to have it. When Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, their left hand stretched out in front of them against their will, and their palms opened. It was a strange sensation, as though only their left hands now belonged to someone else. It felt like only their left hands had become puppets, which were being pulled by strings hanging down from the ceiling. Huh? What are you trying to do? Cannon resisted, but he couldn't retract his hand out of his own free will. Don't struggle. It will be over soon. When Beatrice held her pipe aloft, a gold-colored sparkling dust came out of the smoke and hovered in the air. That sparkle eventually became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely throughout the reception hall, forming a fantastical and beautiful world. The two of those butterflies aligned on the palms of Shannon and Cannon's hands. Huh? Ouch. There was a sharp pain as though they had been... Me when I go to Pixiv's... when I go to Pixiv's R18 section. No! There was a sharp pain as though they had been burned. When two of them tried to examine their palms that hold their bodies, which had been there a second ago, had gone without a trace. A mark? What is it? There was now a tiny burn mark on the palm of her hand. It was shaped like a butterfly. What is this supposed to be? Apparently, Canon had the same mark on his hand. He stared at the witch hatefully. A simple greeting. I have no hidden motive. It is nothing more than a bruise, so it will heal in just a few days. There's not even a need to care for it. I made the mark so that tomorrow you will not forget that I truly was here, and that I made a promise with you. An encounter with me can be quite shocking. Sometimes when the next morning comes, people try to think of such an encounter as a dream or an illusion. You ought to consider this slowly and carefully, Shannon. And you should probably take a good rest. Look at my mark tomorrow morning and try to consider it again. I shall not coerce you in any way. You should freely decide your future, by your own will. Still, to think that one could obtain the object of their desire for such a small price. Surely this would annoy you to no end. The great artists who write plays about blighted love. Well then, let us meet again when the chance arises. How entertaining it is to have this conversation again, after so much time. Goodbye, furniture. Ha ha ha. And she's out. Beatrice's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was a golden smoke, no, a cloud of golden butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden splash beneath before disappearing into thin air. After that, only the cold silence was left. It was so silent, it made both of them just think they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago. Which is why the witch had left those marks. She had done so to make them impossible for them to think of this as a daydream. As Shannon and Cannon remembered the butterfly bruises on their hands, the pain they'd felt when they'd been made, they kept standing still, stunned. And from that moment on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict. Wow. That seems about a good place to end for tonight. All right, that's where we're going to end for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I always appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me. Card game locals were canceled tomorrow. GG's, thanks for playing. Card game locals were canceled tomorrow. So I'm going to do a card game stream with my team, with Suzu, Popcat, maybe Impurist Club. We're going to play some Grand Archive on stream tomorrow. And then Wednesday will be more Umineko. Thursday, I'm not sure. And then Friday, I'm commentating the Grand Blue Bingo on WASD with J2. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Let's go ahead and raid into somebody. Let's find out who we can raid into. Turtles and Chill is always a good raid target. We might do that. Bunch of people playing Dredge. Saifu's playing Cyberpunk. Barton playing Elden Ring. All the usuals that I raid into. I kind of want to just like seek someone random to raid into. I'll do that. Let me search the VTuber tab. Search the V. See what we can find. Oh, nobody uses this tab for real, huh? Pain. Go to Turtles and chill. Have a chill night. Thanks for sticking around for the little deliberation of the raid there. We will see you all tomorrow for cards or Wednesday for more Umineko. Bye-bye.